Earlier today, just moments ago, maybe 2 hours, Senator Ted Cruz announcing Carly Fiorina as his choice as a running mate. But is he getting ahead of himself by picking a vice president after such a shellacking last night? Joining me now, Mercedes Schlapp, Gina Loudon, and Ford O'Connell. Gina, let me start with you. Kind of presumptuous to be picking a VP when your campaign is on life support.
Well, and I think this is further evidence of that, Charles. It's sad to kind of watch the ship sink. I guess that's what has to happen in campaigns. But you look at the Hail Mary pass of just a couple of days ago where Ted Cruz was teaming up with Kasich. That's a little bit hard to rationalize while he has now teamed up with Carly Fiorina. And it not only makes the campaign, unfortunately, look a little bit desperate, I'm afraid, but it also says to everyone who had hopes that he would pick someone else, the Marco Rubios of the world, the John Kasichs of the world, and maybe even people who weren't one of the 17 original candidates, it says to them, all hopes dashed. So I'm afraid he loses support over this.
Well, you know, Mercedes, I do agree that the Kasich thing was really dumb, not well thought out at all. But you can argue that, hey, maybe Carly helps him with women. You know, she had that infamous run-in with Donald Trump. May rekindle some interest in that. She may be able to help him out with California. And she was also an outsider to the race. So listen, sometimes we're desperate. We look desperate because we are desperate.
Well, I think for Ted Cruz, it was very important to revitalize his campaign. He needed to shake it up. Obviously, Indiana is a must-win for Ted Cruz. Do you think this did that? You know, I think that what Carly brings is the energy, the drive, the ability to really show one of Trump's weaknesses, which is the fact that he's having really unfavorable numbers with women voters. And Carly can speak to the women voters, and she's kind of that thorn on Trump's side. So it really allows Carly to be that attack dog against Donald Trump and against Hillary Clinton.
Mercedes, I think we're all dancing around the issue, though. I think the major problem is, and it's the same problem Ted Cruz has had throughout this campaign, he's a base conservative who hasn't been able to expand his voter outreach.
That's
Remember,
right.
Two-thirds of the party is somewhat conservative and moderate Republicans, and they're just not buying the barbecue that Ted Cruz is selling. And I do think this was a smart move, but he needed to do this earlier.
And I think Carly's a more likable candidate than Ted Cruz to a lot of people. So I think that's the other part of it, too.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And the key is whether the remaining primary voters and the delegates, if Trump doesn't get the 1237, view this Carly Cruz ticket in a more favorable light. But, you know, honestly, I agree with you. It's desperation. It's way too late. And we're only going to know if maybe Cruz wins Indiana.
Well, listen, Gina, I mean, that's just right around the corner. Carly, she is personable. She will hit the ground running. And so far, most people do think she's been a positive addition to the help. Again, whether it's too little, too late remains to be seen. But it's only about Indiana and California right now.
Yeah, and I don't know. I sort of think that there's a large segment of especially Republican base voters who are so tired of the gender identity politics. I think that might work better, might play better for a presidential candidate once he's nominated, and we're looking at a general election. But in the primary, when something is done, it comes off to some women as a little bit patronizing, I think, in some ways.
So you're looking at this more cynical. You're looking at this as more as a cynical move, or you don't think? You don't think that there's some sort of ideological, you know, kindred spirits there between Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina? Is this solely?
Well, no, because Charles.
Go ahead.
Charles, he already had her endorsement. She was with him on the campaign trail every day. I think he would have gained more if he thought outside the box. Maybe if he wanted to pick a woman, maybe he picks someone else who's out there who's a woman. But I think to name Carly just says that, you know, he already had that support, and he's lost a lot of other support for it, I'm afraid.
I don't see this as a cynical move at all. I see that this is a situation where the Cruz campaign never identified their biggest problem, and that was getting to other voters. Basically, the Cruz campaign figured out that maybe if everyone drops out and it's me and Donald, the somewhat conservatives, the moderate Republicans will come our way. What he didn't realize is that basically Donald Trump was a candidate who had a learning curve that was exponential, and basically two-thirds of the party said, guess what? If it's Cruz and Trump, we're going Trump.
Mercedes?
Yeah, but what happens to Kasich voters in Indiana?
I just want to throw something out there. The other thing is that Carly has strong ties in California. She did win the primary in the Senate race in 2010. Obviously, she won that the general election there. But that is another interesting factor that we need to keep in mind. With California coming up and Cruz playing for these delegates, actually, Carly does have a strong base out in California. So there is these different components out there. The question will become how Trump will handle. We've seen his initial response on Carly, but can he contain himself from really going after her? And that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see again, because let me tell you something. Republican women did not appreciate the whole Trump and Carly debacle, and really a lot of the Republican women favored and went on Carly's side on that issue when he was talking about her face.
And Mercedes, I agree with you, but if Cruz loses Indiana, because Indiana means more for Cruz, those resources may dry up, and he may not be able to organize California.
I think the whole thing is a moot point. If Cruz doesn't win Indiana, this thing is absolutely over and done. But if he does win this, Gina, you live in California, to the point that Mercedes made, maybe it might have been a smart move, because Carly, she's got some popularity out there, and she must have some infrastructure out there. Maybe that could be the key ingredient, because Cruz has played the ground game well.
You know, he had before what we've seen over the last couple of days, where he's trending downward and Trump's numbers are trending upward, even with, of course, uncommitted delegates. And so I don't know what will happen on that, but I will say this. I think that this may work for him, but you have to remember that Trump still hasn't named his VP candidate, and he's still got that card. And so time will tell what he'll do with that.